And Woody likes the crooked cock.
Bias speaking, but I'm always like, why do they schedule every game for Thursday night? This isn't fair. It's not on tonight, but I got to watch the last two. But anyway, yeah, we won't talk about hockey because nobody gives a fuck. It's still too early in the season. But yeah, I'm hoping the Blues really collapse and fall apart soon, become terrible, wait until January, maybe even early February, then surge back. We're not going to Tarasenko broke his shoulder, and so he's out for the entire season.
Playoffs too. Oh yeah.
He's supposed to come back like 3 days before the playoffs, and so
I'm sure he'll be 100%
full form.
Yeah,
exactly. And so it's like, fuck, our best goal scorer is out for the entire season. So, and then we lost one of our good veterans last night. He had a high ankle break or something, so he's out for like a month or so.
That's a big issue.
Yeah,
I had.
And he's like 35, and so he's not a spring chicken in the NHL.
I had that too.
Yeah. At 35. You and Alexander Steen are very similar.
People mix this up all the time.
You're both professional Swedish hockey players.
You know how you say like it's early season, nobody cares, right? So I'm watching the Sixers, and they're all like, I think they'll be like second best in the East, and maybe seventh best in the league. And they started off 5-0, and then meanwhile they're like, 5-0. That team you thought was better is 4-1. Get the fuck out of here. You don't know anything about basketball. The score's posted. I don't know why we're playing the rest of the season.
I love following the early parts of hockey, just similar to the way you do with basketball, I'm sure, where it's like early in the season, like Red Wings fans were like, yep, 4 wins, 0 losses, 1 overtime loss. Guess we're not as bad as everybody thought, boys. And they've lost like 10 in a row or something retarded. And they just plummet right to the bottom. And now they're like, well, guys, we got a storied history to look back on.
Yeah, I will switch topics quickly. I promise, Kyle. Yeah, but I think
no, keep it coming.
The Sixers have lost either 2 or 3 since they went 5-0.
The Sixers.
It's true.
If we're looking for a new topic, I outlined a little Bible tale for us. It's been a hot second.
Oh, I'd love that. What are you going to regale us with today, Taylor?
I was going to do Easter, but I wanted to do something a little less common knowledge. And so are either of you familiar with the tale of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego?
And Abednego.
Wait, say it again.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Yep,
yes.
It's
Kyle does know it.
I went to church.
Yeah, no, I legit thought he made up an eeny, meeny, miny, moe type of thing.
No, go to Daniel 3-6. I think is where. Yeah, I know because I reread it.
Please don't tell me the story, and I just disappointed my parents.
Yeah, no, and your parents, Mr. and Mrs. Woody's parents. I dare you to find one thing wrong with this. One factoid wrong with this. So basically, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, 3 Jews hanging out in the Old Testament. And this is one of the many times that the Jews or the state of Israel was just getting, or maybe Judah at the time, I don't fucking remember. They were just getting butt fucked by whatever powerful people there were at the time. There were the Babylonians, like Assyrians, like all throughout the ages. This was a Babylon time. And so they were under the thumb of King Nebuchadnezzar, the original Chad. And King Nebuchadnezzar he had his hanging gardens of Babylon. Like they were the most powerful empire in the world, in their known world at the time. And he had all this dope shit. And he had so much extra gold sitting around that he was like, it would be tight. I'm going to build a 90-foot solid gold statue of like myself or some like guy who's kind of like me or some, God. They don't even like really say what it was. And so he built some dope ass statue, gold, 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide. And I looked that up. That's like 90 feet high and 9 feet wide. Like a cubit is apparently like 1.5 feet.
Okay.
So this is a lot of gold. It's a real flex on the rest of the world. And so he builds this and he's so stoked on it that he invites all of his, I don't remember all the words, I read them down, all of his officials from the kingdom, governors, senators, satraps, I assume some kind of mayor, judges, treasurers, everybody from every corner of the Babylonian kingdom, all the high-ranking, hullabaloo people show up. And they're like, you're right, King Nebuchadnezzar, this is really cool. And he's like, it doesn't stop here, guys. Anytime you hear music from, and I'll read this list. I'll just read what the town crier said. Nation and people of every language, this is what you are commanded to do. As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of the gold king Nebuchadnezzar. And so, first of all, pretty sure a lot of those instruments are made up. And so he sends all the governors and everybody back. They relay that same message. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they weren't just like three random Jews walking around the street in like shitty ass sandals. They had like not the overruling part of a province, but they were like a couple levels down. They still had nice houses, nice shit. Like they weren't in poverty or anything. And pretty much immediately, as soon as this town crier said that, he added an addendum, which Nebuchadnezzar also instructed, where he's like, and make sure they also know anybody who doesn't bow down as soon as all these made-up instruments start going, they're going to be brought back to me, they're going to be brought in front of me, and I'm going to burn them alive in a really cool big furnace I also made. And believe it or not, that was compelling to most people. That got them on board. And so as soon as they heard the zither and the lyre, boom, right down, like almost like Mecca. They're like, even if you can't see it from whatever province they're in, they're like, I'm not risking some ancient cop finding me and ratting me out. I'm aiming right there and praying to Nebuchadnezzar.
Right.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego say, fuck you. They don't say, fuck you. They say, no thanks. No, thank you. Their overseer goes to King Nebuchadnezzar, goes, hey, Neb. Neb goes, don't call me that. He goes, I understand. He goes, King Nebuchadnezzar, these three Jews, they're not bowing down. Did you tell him about the furnace thing? Yes, I led with the furnace thing. Yes, of course I told him. Of course I led with it, you brilliant king. And so Nebuchadnezzar is like, okay, well, bring him to me. Bring them to me. As far as I can tell, they're doing a good job on paper, but if they're not going to do what I want, bring them here. So he brings them there, and he tells them, hey, and King Nebuchadnezzar is like in the opposite situation of like a rock and a hard place. He's between like tits and ass. No matter which way he goes, it's positive. If they show up and they say, I'm not bowing down, he gets a handful of tit, so to speak, where he gets to throw them in the furnace, burn them alive, and ensure that everybody's like, yeah, that bitch is not playing. He will burn you alive, bow. Or if they do what he wanted them to do, nice handful of ass, and they bow down, it's a little ego stroke where he's like, yeah, all it really took was them seeing me in my glory for them to bow down and do it.
All right.
And so